Time won't wait for you. That's the first piece of advice I wish I had had in my 20s. Time is going to pass by regardless of how you use it. And at 20 years old, it may not feel like time is going by very quickly, but I promise you at 38 years old, it's going to feel like time is going by a lot faster. Today I'm 38, and I feel like I have spent a lot of my life doing things the wrong way. I spent an abnormally large amount of time in college. 9 years, from about 18 years old to 27 years old. I never got a degree. That's because the majority of those years I was just going in circles, having no idea what to do. I attended 4 different schools, changed majors 3 times, went through an entire scholarship program, an entire grant program, and accumulated enough hours to have a master's degree. At least I'm pretty sure I did. There were a couple of reasons I went to college in the first place, outside of just the normal, well, you need a college degree to become successful bit. Those reasons quickly faded away though, and after 2 or 3 years, I had this feeling that college was just not for me. Like I should be doing something else with my life. Unfortunately though, I didn't listen to that gut instinct. And for the next 6 or 7 years, I lived my life trying to be someone I wasn't. I allowed the overall trajectory of my life to be driven, by and large at least, by the expectations and goals of other people. My teachers, my student advisors, my parents, the news. I tried to be the person they wanted me to be instead of just figuring out who I was and being that. I had no desire to be in class. I was disinterested in almost everything I studied. I didn't really agree with the formal education process that I had gone through so far, but I tried to persevere through it because I wanted that degree to become successful. It took me 6 years after I had kind of initially figured out that college wasn't for me to finally muster up the courage to drop out. I'm conflicted about it because I did learn something. I have a lot of big life lessons that I've taken away from it, but at the same time, I really feel like I really should have been doing something else with my life. Something else I spent way too much of my time on is video games. There is a large period of my life where almost all of my free time was tied up into video games. I would get back home from work at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, have dinner, and then play video games until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I did this for years probably. I spent thousands of hours playing video games in my late teens, early 30s. It's wild to me. Like, do you guys know how many days just 1,000 hours is? It's almost 42. And I probably spent 3,000 or 4,000 hours playing video games in this time period. That's like close to half of a year. I think it's obvious that I could have been doing a lot more with my life and my time. I could have been doing some personal development, reading books, building a side business, getting into something that I was really interested in, pursuing things that could have made a lot more money than just sitting in front of my computer playing video games. So I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is just that I would say, please, if you're watching this and you're in your 20s, do not wait until you have this perspective that time is running out to try and take advantage of the time that you have. Pay very close attention to what you're spending your time on and what you're getting out of it. More than likely, there is at least one thing that you are using your time on right now that is probably a waste, or you could probably just move on from and do something else. I would say do something else, because like as you get older, there will come a point in your life where you will regret it. And at the same time, you'll realize you can't get that time back. Second piece of advice I wish I had in my 20s is that the results that you want to get out of life will not be the results that you actually get until you figure out who you are. In other words, self-awareness. You need to know who you are. In life, there's going to be, like, on one hand, this is who you are. And on the other hand, there are going to be all these alternate versions of you that other people are trying to push you to become. Don't be these people. Be this person. Be you. Get to know who you are deeply. Not the person you think your parents want you to be, not the person you think your guidance counselors or teachers want you to be, not the person you think your boss wants to be, not the person you think society wants you to be. You. Who are you? In my opinion, self-awareness is probably one of the most important things you will ever develop in life. Just because, like, every result you get in one way or another will be tied to knowing yourself and how true you stay to that. And also, as you get older, you're going to be pulled in like all sorts of different directions. And it's going to help tremendously if you are very aware of who you are, how you're made, just so you can stay on the right track and not kind of get, kind of like I was in college, just kind of like go in circles, because I didn't really know who I was. And I was very susceptible to just kind of the whims of what people said. The unfortunate part about all this is, however, that like at 20 years old, you probably don't have much of an idea at all about who you are. But on this, at the same time, you're still being handed these big decisions that require a decent amount of self-awareness. Like, do I go to college? And if so, where do I go to college? How much money do I spend on it? Where do I go to work? What kind of a job do I get? Like these decisions are being pushed on you at 18 to 20 years old when you still have a lot of your self-awareness journey still to take. I'm just now coming to the point where I understand what people like Gary Vee say, like self-awareness is everything. It's the key to everything. I'm just now starting to understand that. And it's a difficult thing, but I think I could give you some tips about how to start figuring yourself out faster and much more quickly than I did. These are the things that helped me. It helped me to kind of go back and look at past themes and patterns in my life. What were the things that I was doing as a child? What were the things I was doing for fun? What are the things I'm doing for fun now? What are the things I enjoy studying most in school? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my skills? What are my natural talents and abilities? What are my personality traits? If you've never heard of the DISC, D-I-S-C personality test, I would encourage you to take one of those. What fulfills you? What bores you? What makes you bored? How do you learn the best? Like what are you looking for in life? These questions may take a while to answer. They did for me. But the answers to these questions will also help you figure out the answer to who you are. And after that, I would just say try different things. Just get a wide range of experiences. And also try not to compare yourself to others because you are not them. Like there's only one you in this world, and that's you. It's not somebody else, it's you. Some of the mistakes that I've made in life that have had the longest lasting consequences have come from me trying to be somebody that I just wasn't. The third piece of advice I wish I had had in my 20s is that what I learned about success and failure in school is not accurate to reality in most cases. It would probably do you well to just completely forget about what you learned about success and failure in school, because school trains us, not necessarily academically, but much more behaviorally, to avoid failure. Failure is bad. We should not fail. It trains us to strive for perfection, to get those A pluses and those hundreds on tests or homeworks or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that like we should seek failure, or that we shouldn't try to be the best that we can be, or aim for perfection when it makes sense. I'm just saying that in real life, it just doesn't really work this way. If you're trying to accomplish something in real life, trying to figure out how to make it perfect first is going to slow you down a lot, if not just grind you to a halt. It would kind of be like waiting for all the traffic lights to turn green before leaving your house to go somewhere. Like it's not going to happen. Also, when you're trying something out for the first time, more than likely it's not going to be perfect. Or if it's perfect the first time, it's probably going to be beginner's luck, and it won't be perfect the second time. And you're just going to have to learn to make it perfect. The good news is, like the longer you try something, the more practice and experience you get with it, the more perfect it will become. Don't let perfection be the enemy of complete or good. Something else regarding failure. Failure teaches you some life lessons that you wouldn't otherwise have maybe learned. Failure is an extremely important thing to have happen to you in real life, especially if you want to be successful. The people around you who you see who are super successful, and I don't mean the people who have like a decent job and a decent income, but like the ones who are super successful, I guarantee you probably 99 or 100% of those are as successful as they are because they have failed so many times and learned so many things to do what they're doing that just does not work. And what their success looks like is them just like standing on top of a mound of their failures, and they just happen to be standing on top of everything. Avoid it if you can and learn from others. But at the same time, if you fail, just embrace it and learn from it. Like ask yourself, okay, why did this not work? What was there something that I did that led to this not working, and how can I do that thing better? How can I avoid doing that thing in the future? And probably the most important thing about failure is to not let it convince you that you are a failure. Failure is an event. Failure is not a person. I think that's something else that school maybe conditions us to believe about ourselves. Is that, if we fail so many tests or don't get good grades, like we're looked down upon, we're frowned upon, we're gotten onto, and it conditions us to think that we are a failure, not necessarily that, there's just something that we're not understanding that's leading to us getting poor grades or whatever. I had a problem with bad grades for most of my school career. My teachers would get on to me for it. My parents would get on to me for it. I was put on academic probation in college twice. Things got so bad that you remember me talking about how I finally had the courage to drop out after 6 years of already knowing college wasn't for me. It got so bad that I still lied about it to everyone, even Brittany, because I was so embarrassed and ashamed about having to drop out and not being able to complete a degree program. And I didn't really recognize it at the time, but more in hindsight, looking back on it, all these years of constant pressure to do something I didn't like doing, which was school, and being chastised and gotten onto for not performing very well, has had a huge, lasting negative effect on my self-image. Still to this day, I struggle with feeling like a failure because I didn't complete a degree program. Like I don't have a degree, even though I spent 9 years in college learning a whole bunch of stuff. Even though I have enough credit hours for a master's degree, like I don't have that shiny piece of paper that says I'm successful, because at least that's how I was trained to think when I was going through middle school and high school. Like, you need that shiny piece of paper so you're successful. It's illogical, but it is what it is. And speaking of self-image, that's kind of the next line of advice I wish I'd had in my 20s. You need to make sure that you know yourself well enough and you believe in yourself so that when you set out to accomplish something, you believe that you can achieve it, and that there's not this subconscious voice in your mind saying that you can't. I've had this problem before where I have I've set out to accomplish something, and I get so far. This happened multiple times. Like, things will go well up to a point, and then I won't continue growing. Like, I can't get past this point. It's happened with multiple things in different areas of my life. There's somewhere in my subconscious paradigm is a belief that I am not capable or deserving what comes after that. Like I'm good getting up to a certain point, but after that my mind's like, nope, you don't need this. You're not deserving of it, or you can't do this. I don't want that to happen to you guys. Get enough life experience to where you understand what you're good at naturally and maybe what you're not so good at. Get experience like learning how to do something you have no idea how to do, and that way you can see yourself learning and growing from a person who couldn't do something at first to now somebody who can do it very well. If you get enough of those types of experiences under your belt, your self-image is going to be a lot better. When you try to accomplish something, all these negative thoughts of doubt or like that you can't will make no logical sense, because you already have all this experiential knowledge of yourself accomplishing things. And the fifth piece of advice I wish I'd had in my 20s, and I think this goes without saying, is that college matters a lot less than it used to. Back in like the 70s or 80s, it used to be that a college degree was pretty much your ticket to success, a good job, a very nice salary, and a very nice retirement. But guys, that was like 40 or 50 years ago, back when cell phones and the internet weren't even a thing. Things have changed a lot since then. If your plan is to go to college, seriously, please consider why. Why is it that you want to go? What is the deep motivation that you want to go? If it's because you deeply desire to become a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, whatever, by all means, go for it. We need good people in those fields. But if you're more like me and the only reason you really, or the biggest reason you're going to college is because you think you need a degree to become successful, I think the chances are that you will be highly disappointed. Don't go if you're unsure of what you want to do. Maybe go for a year or two just to get some core classes under your belt, maybe get an associate's degree in some general area. But I would say don't take too long and don't pay too much money for it. Under no circumstances take out student loans that you won't be able to comfortably pay off with a year's worth of work after you're finished. The best thing to do would just not be to take out any student loans at all. Formal education like college is only one of many ways of learning how to do something. There are trade schools, there's YouTube, there are apprenticeship programs, there's internships, on-the-job training. I mean, guys, there are people on YouTube who either have very little to no formal education that are making hundreds of thousands or millions or even tens of millions of dollars every year on YouTube. Like, that in and of itself should be plenty of evidence to say that you don't need a degree to become successful and start making a lot of money. Place a high value on education, but don't let schooling get in the way of that. Number 6, read a lot. The single best thing you can do to learn life lessons from other people who have been where you want to go is to read from their experiences, read books that they've written. This is a good way to learn from their mistakes as well, so you don't have to make the same mistakes. You can learn a $1 million per year idea from a $15 book. And with that being said, guys, I really hope this video was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. I'd appreciate it. Brittany will be back in the next video, and we'll see you then.